Okay, hey there everyone, welcome back to another guitar tutorial. Once again, in today's video I'm going to show you how to play Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day on the acoustic guitar. And this is actually one of my all-time favorite songs. One of the first songs I learned on guitar, absolute masterpiece. I'm sure a lot of you know this song. It's a really great, meaningful song, catchy, always prevalent, and yeah, hopefully you will enjoy learning it today. So without further ado, just get into the nitty gritty, and let me just say all the usual stuff. So first things first, gonna need a capo, pop it on the first fret, and it'll match up to the song. And your tuning is going to be E standard as per usual. And yeah, the song is in the key of F minor. So obviously what we're going to be playing is all going to be relative, because obviously with capo on the first fret, the chords that I'm going to tell you that you're going to be playing today aren't the actual chords that are being played in the song, because we have a capo on the first fret. So it'll be, you know, a half step down because we're playing relative. So yeah, in other words, you know, you'll be playing an E minor, right? You'll play an E minor shape, but in the song it'll actually be an F minor chord. But yeah, you get the gist of what I'm saying, because the capo on the first fret, it changes things, but I don't need to get confused by it, because initially a few little details that confuse me here and there, but it's nothing to get too perplexed by. It soon becomes pretty simple. It's just all relative to what you're playing. So yeah, it's going to start out anyway. I guess you could start like this in the song. So it's going to go. So yeah, I always do that, just play it like briefly, just to put it in perspective so you get an idea of what you're going to do. So basically you're just going to start on an E minor. And you're going to go, so just an E minor chord. Then the next chord you're going to go to is a G. Now, this isn't going to be your usual familiar typical G that you might be used to playing. It's actually going to be like a G, but instead of like having your ring finger on the high E string, you're going to move it up to the B string. So instead of having this, you're going to do this. Just up to the B string, not the E string. So, because you'll be wondering why, and well, there's a few reasons why. First is when Billy Joe actually played this by himself on the acoustic guitar on the iHeart Living Room show back in 2020. He actually did the same thing. He was using his ring finger to play the B string and not the E string. So, and the other reason is as well is because it makes sense, because transition-wise from G, the next chord is D, right? So after the G chord, you can go to a D. And transition-wise, it's easier because then your ring finger can stay on the B string while your index and middle finger just move off their notes and just their strings to go to form the D major chord. But it's only two fingers have to move, whereas this ring finger can just stay on the same string. It doesn't have to move. So logically, that makes a lot more sense. Transition-wise, it's easier, and yeah, it makes sense. But you know, if you'd rather just stick to your familiar G because it's what you're used to and what you can just transition to faster, that's fine too. Just play like this, and then just play your regular D after. But I'm going to be going from this G because that's what Billy Joe played. So we're going to go off what he did on the acoustic guitar, since I'm showing this on the acoustic by myself as well. So yeah, so you've got this G, and then just, as I just said, transition then to a D chord. Thumb to mute the low E string, of course, as you should know, and then after the D, final chord of the sequence is going to be an A major chord, or A, you know, and then back to the E minor again, and that's basically going to be the verses. That'll cover all the verses and some other stuff. So yeah, the strumming pattern is really up to you. I think I just say, instead of like telling you direct strumming patterns, I like to say, unless there's like a one that's very like there's no other strumming patterns that really work, I like to just say experiment, mix it up, do whatever feels natural to you, whatever strumming pattern you like the most. As long as it's in time with a song, it doesn't really matter. But the idea of like, there shouldn't be a hard and fast rule with like all strumming patterns. You should just do whatever you like the most, as long as it's in tempo with a song. That's all that matters. Because yeah, there's some songs where the strumming pattern there's only like 1 or 2 strum patterns you can do, and other ones just don't really fit or work with the song. But with this one, there's a lot you can kind of do, I guess. So, you know, just go with what you like, but I like to just go. Just that kind of thing, you know, so. So just like that kind of thing. So yeah, just experiment with that and do whatever you prefer. But so the next thing now is what I just showed you now will get you through the verses, and the next change now is going to be at the chorus. So now the first chord of the chorus is going to be a C. So it's just a C major chord. So you got C, then to the G, shadows, D major to E minor, C, C, G, D, E minor, C major to G, D major, D minor, C, G to B5. So yeah, we're gonna break that down now and, you know, go over that more slowly, but I just wanted to, like, you know, just show you like that first. So again, first chord is going to be a C in the chorus, for my shadows, then it's a G. This G I'm showing you, but if you want to play this G or this G, if you prefer, that's fine, but the G I'm showing you today is just the ring finger on the B string G. So then to D, and then the final chord of the chorus sequence is going to be the E minor, before going back to the C again for the second time. My shadow was the only thing that's beating. Sometimes I wish someone up there would find me. Till then I walk alone. So yeah, so basically, the thing is once you come to the G will always go to the G. So when you're playing a G, you'll always go to the D. So from the verses, you go from the G to the D, and from the chorus, you'll go from the G to the D as well. But yeah, so the last part now, just to go over, is this is going to be the most trickiest part if you're like a beginner or can't really not familiar with bar chords or power chords or anything like that. So till then, so on Walk Alone, you're then going to play a B5 power chord. So yeah, you can play it this way as well, like, but I play it this way as kind of what Billy did as well in the I Help Living Room show. So you're just gonna go B5 power chord, then back to the you know, intro chords and verse chords again. That's that sequence again. But yeah, if you're having trouble with that, just, you know, work on that. You can look up tabs as well if you don't want to know, if you don't know the exact like finger fret fingering and like what you know, what frets you put your finger on, and like, you know, where your fingers will go to make up all these shapes. You can look up like the tabs and just to tell you what that is. But basically, yeah, it's a B5 power chord. But so work on that if like that's something that you're not too familiar with, and then once you get that done, the rest of the song should be pretty easy for you. But then after that, then you'll go back to the then into the next verse again. I'm walking down the line that divides me somewhere in my mind, on the borderline of the edge of where I walk alone. So yeah, same thing again, nothing changes, same chords, E minor to G to D major to A major, and then you do the same thing again. So you go to the next chorus, and then next chorus again, just be the same thing. C major G. I will goes into the solo, of course. So again, I'll just go over the chorus chords one more time real quick. So again, the chorus chords are just, again, C major, G major, D major, E minor. They're the chorus chords. And then for the solo, you're just going to play the same thing. When you go into the solo, you're just going to play C again, to G, D major, E minor. Same thing again. And then there's the classic. So yeah, basically now that the chorus is going to be, the solo, is going to be the exact same chord sequence, same chord ordering as the chorus. But of course, you'll just do that slow down. So if you want to just go C, C, and then just mute the strings like that, like put your palm or hand on the string by the sound hole, you can do that if you want. And then put the G, and then back to the regular playing. Or you can do this, use your fingers to mute the strings, and then go play like muted, like, play the strings muted, and then go to the G. It's kind of what Billy did as well in the I Heart Living Room show, but it's up to you, or you can just go in the song. Other thing to note is, so for this B5 power chord, which again, that will be the next chord you go to. So after the stop in the solo, and it'll just be the same as like the last chord of the usual choruses, which is the B5 power chord. But you're going to actually play it for like twice as long this time. You're going to stay on this chord and play it for twice the duration as the chorus times, because yeah, you're just going to play it for longer. So you've got. Or that way, whichever way you prefer, but yeah, so play the power chord way, whichever way you prefer to play it. It's just, the main thing is like when you're working on these power chords, it's just like using your index finger to mute all the other strings, because you're only really playing, if you're playing like the basic way, just using like an E minor shape to play the other strings. And the most important thing is just using your index finger to mute the strings that aren't supposed to be played. But playing it this way, you can add in, the B string. You can hear that note being played, so it adds another string. So that's why I play it this way, and it can be easier sometimes, but play it that way to begin with if you prefer, and just work on that, and then that should be fine too. So yeah, so after that chord anyway, it then stops. You got the B5 power chord again, and then it comes into another like guitar instrumental then of just the verse chords, like, but then it's gonna go. I walk this empty street on the Boulevard of Broken Dreams, where the city sleeps. I'm the only one, and I walk up. My shadow's the only one that walks beside me. My shallow heart's the only thing that's beating. Sometimes I wish someone would never find me. Till then I walk alone. And then it goes to the outro, which, this is like, the thing that's probably going to be like, I'd say the most, I wouldn't say the most complex, just the most where you have to like, there's another chord, another power chord you're going to have to play, and you'll see it's not too bad, but, I'd say overall it'll be probably the last thing you might, it'll be the last thing to get down, basically. It might be the last thing that you end up like getting down and being able to master when playing this song, but, yeah, it's not too bad though. So basically, for the outro, I'll do the same thing again. You'll sustain that B5 power chord for the final chorus chord for the same duration as the solo B5 chord. And then it goes to the outro. So the outro now is just going to be, obviously you don't hear the acoustic, it's the electric guitar playing, and the other instruments, but on acoustic, I think what I do is I go E minor, which these are the same, like, you know, chords as what the guitar is doing, but it's just in an acoustic guitar format, I guess. So you got E minor to C to D major. Now this is the real change here now, to D5 power chord. So basically, to make this easier, that chord I just showed you there, the B5 power chord that you do at the end of the choruses, the last chord of the choruses, and last chord of the solo. This chord here, just move this same shape up here, whether it's this way or that way. Move this same shape up and go up 2 frets. Just go up 2 frets from this shape, 1, 2, and then you've got this chord, which actually is your D5 power chord, and that is the actual chord. Even with the Capo one, that's the actual chord. So to make it easier though, just this shape here, just going up 2 frets. So yeah, once you've got this power chord down, as I say, you can then just do the same shape on here as well, basically, but your index finger is going to be, you know, on the 5th fret, and you're, you know, if you're playing this way, the E minor type power chord way, then your E minor shape with your ring finger and pinky are going to be on the 7th fret. So yeah, so basically, yeah, so to go back now, don't confuse you. So you've got the outro E minor, C major, D major, then this power chord D5, then back then to a G, and then B7th. This is the final, like, last chord. There's, like, after you get this one down, that'll be it. And this could be the one that you might find more tricky than the power chords. I don't know. I mean, it should be easier for you than doing the power chords because it doesn't require, like, barring or using your index finger to mute strings. But it's a B7, like a B7, a dominant B7 chord, and but you're not using your pinky to play the E string. Usually the full chord for this would be this, but don't use your pinky to play the high E string on the 3rd fret. Just use your first 3 fingers. So, you know, yeah. So middle finger is, you know, going to be on the A string. The 3rd fret, I'll tell you that, just the fingering for this and the placement, and your index finger is going to be on the D string, the 2nd fret, and your ring finger is going to be on the G string, the 3rd fret. Yeah, I hadn't actually ever checked before, so I was curious, but yeah, that is right. So you've got this B7 chord, and that is basically on acoustic a good chord to play, especially when you're coming from this G. It's not too far transition wise. You just got this, and then back to the E minor, because this B7 chord really goes into an E minor really nicely. Really, like, you know, it goes into E minor really well. It blends really nice into E minor coming from that chord. So yeah, so going over the outro again, this is the thing, you know, you definitely practice on the most. At least once you've done the other parts and you've mastered the other parts, then definitely work on this, because it's probably again, I don't want to say too complex, but I think it can be, compared to the other parts of the song, it can be a bit more tricky. But yeah, so again, you've got, but just like really, I guess you could say this power chord up here, and doing this B7th. You know, besides those two, it's not too bad. So you've got the E minor, right? So D major, so yeah, like that strumming pattern you can do if you want, by the way. Like, that's what the guitar does in the actual song. That's what the electric guitar does. That's how it strums it. But if you want, I prefer just to go. So yeah, so that's how it ends. But for the last 2 chords, for how it ends, do downstrokes then, because in the song that's how it goes. It goes. So it'll sound better if you do downstrokes for the last, you know, 2 chords, because that's how it does in the song, and it makes sense even on acoustic just to go. So do that and then just mute your strings, because that's how it ends in the song. So that's how it will actually end in the song, and it sounds the best just doing the just 2 downstrokes on those 2 chords from the G with your ring finger on the B instead of the high E to then the B7, and of course use your thumb to move the low E string. You're just playing from the A string down. So yeah, one more time I'll just go over the outro chords because it is important, you know, to get all this down and get it down right and everything. So E minor, the first chord, C major, D major, sorry, D5 power chord, G major, B7, back to E minor again. So yeah, obviously in the song you're not playing, the actual chord isn't a D major because you're not going to be going from a D major to a D5 power chord. As I say, it's just relative to the capo. So yeah, just it keeps it more simple that way. So again, you've got one more time. And that's it. That's pretty much going to do it, guys. Feel free to rewind, pause, do all that stuff if you need to. But, you know, I've gone over everything a few times. So hopefully you will be able to get this down once you've, you know, just spent some time practicing it, going over the video, pausing, rewind, doing whatever you need to do. Feel comfortable, go at your own pace, all that stuff. But, yeah, that's going to be a lot of Broken Dreams. And, you know, the outro I did, you know, from those tutorials that I've watched in the past, I didn't usually see people showing the outro, I guess because like the acoustic wasn't playing that and it didn't make as much sense to on guitar, but on the acoustic anyway, because it was like the electric doing it and it was like more power chords, which suits the electric more. But yeah, I think it sounds good on acoustic. Like what I just showed you there does sound pretty accurate to what you hear in the song, even though it's on the electric and it's playing power chords. It's still, you know, a good rendition for the acoustic, and it sounds pretty accurate. And they are the correct chords, and it does sound right, but it's just in an acoustic style. So hopefully you'll appreciate that and enjoy learning that. But yeah, that's going to do it though. I know we're getting on here a bit now. I wanted to really spend a bit more time going over this because it is one of my all-time favorite songs. And yeah, like, and overall there was a fair bit to learn, even though it's like one of my favorite songs. It's definitely not the most simplest song. There is a fair amount of chords and nuances and switch ups, and yeah, really cool tricks that this song has to offer. Like, it's, like I said, it's a great song, and this won't be the last Green Day song. I will be doing a lot more Green Day songs. They are, you know, I used to play a lot of Green Day songs on guitar. A lot of the first songs I learned on guitar were in fact Green Day songs, so expect to see more Green Day songs. But any requests, feel free. If there's any in particular, then I'll get to it. If not, I'll just do my favorites. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.